Before the Space Marines, there were the Thunder Warriors. They were brutal, gene-force giants built for one purpose: to win the wars that would unite Terra. Clad in crude but powerful armor, they were the Emperor's first weapons, unleashed upon a dying world soaked in fire and blood. Short-lived, monstrously strong, and utterly relentless, they were the hammer that shattered the old world to make way for a new empire. The armor they wore, what we now call Mark I power armor, or Thunder armor, was a brutal solution for a brutal age. Created in the techno-barbaric forges of Terra, during the dying days of the Age of Strife, it was a suit built for raw, unrelenting war. It lacked the refinement and sophistication of later Astartes designs, but for the desperate battles waged across the shattered continents of old Earth, it was more than enough. Unlike the sealed, life-sustaining suits of the Legiones Astartes, Mark I was never meant for void warfare or alien climates. It wasn't airtight and offered no life support or environmental regulation, but it didn't need to. The Thunder Warriors were created to fight on Terra, across radioactive wastelands, in the ruins of dead cities, and atop the bones of fallen empires. So long as the air could be drawn into lungs, the fight would go on. Visually, the armor was a patchwork of design and function. While helmets, often adorned with plumes or crests, were common, the rest of the suit varied depending on the forge cult that produced it. There was no standard pattern, no codified structure. Some bore jagged plates of salvaged metal, others had more ornate finishes, reflecting local customs or the preferences of the warriors themselves. What mattered was that it worked, and that it terrified the enemy. The suit's power systems concentrated on the upper body. Chest plates and arm bracers housed cold energy coils and servo motors, feeding raw strength to the limbs. The Thunder Warriors were not marksmen. They were human battering rams. Grappling, crushing, ripping, their combat style was as unsubtle as it was effective. The added strength from the armor turned them into juggernauts in melee, able to smash through fortifications or tear apart tanks with their bare hands. Their lower half, in contrast, was relatively crude. The legs were empowered, just covered by thick reinforced breeches or plates to offer protection without sacrificing too much mobility. The power source came from a large backpack unit, most of which was occupied by primitive cooling systems to prevent the unstable energy output from overheating and cooking the wearer alive. Interestingly, even in the later Mark II design, some coils remain externally mounted to aid in heat dispersion, a direct inheritance from the Thunder Armor's rough beginnings. Mark I saw service mostly on Terra, Mars, and Luna, worlds where the atmosphere was still somewhat breathable, and the need for void-rated armor wasn't yet a concern. But even in these more hospitable settings, the armor was crude, heavy, and difficult to maintain. It was a tool of conquest, not longevity. By the time the Emperor turned his eyes to the stars and the Great Crusade began, Mark I was already an anachronism. Spacemen required more protection against the vacuum of space, against radiation, against alien atmospheres. And so the Thunder armor was quickly replaced by advanced patterns like the Mark II and beyond. While a few relic suits surfaced during the Horus Heresy, worn by outcasts, black shields, or warbands with access to forgotten stockpiles, the Thunder armor faded into obscurity. Today it exists more in myth than in form. A ceremonial relic. A fossil from a blood-soaked age when unity was bought in fire and peace was won by monsters in metal shells.